version because, like you said, it's very easy, cut and paste. I don't do that at all. So we're going to definitely dive into Connect because that's where we want it. We want to live there. We want to feel comfortable with that, and the learning curve is bigger. And so I'm going to walk you through it. We'll talk about things as we go along. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to be doing today. By the next class, if you will figure out what you want, which survey you want to work with, if it's something that you've made a copy of, if you're brand new and you just want to use one of ours, that family album is it's still in that folder, and you can download that one. You can work off of that as often as possible. And then right now, so what we're doing is this, we're going to work on this May the 4th. It was our Saturday class. And that is the family address book. So hopefully this looks familiar to you. And we kind of went through a little bit of that in a fast pace. Let's go in here and open this. And you notice how I have the iPad is wide. I can come in here to smartphone and make it a smartphone because this one for our end users is all going to be smartphones. So right now, just a quick overview from what we did the other day. Survey tab is where all of your information is going to be for your end users. I always start with the label because the label is the question that the end users are going to see. Type in your names here. Just make sure there's the only symbol that you're allowed to have is the underscore. And then once that's done, then you can come over to this part over here and figure out what that is. Is that a select one? Select one means that it's going to have a radio button. Let me just show you. Select one means there's a radio button, so you can only select one. They do have select multiples, and that'll give you a square box, and that means they can choose multiples. And then there is, your geo points, your text, and your integers, things like that. And from our first class types, you can find question types over here, and that's going to be these over here. They give you a small direction, and that's great to get started. And then you have your appearances. Appearances are going to be shown here in the survey over here. And field types I don't use. References, this is for your HTML code, and that's so that you can change the titles to a different color. Let's see if I've done anything here for you that might show that. I'll show that to you another time because I want to actually get into publishing and then tweaking things on the back end today, so you'll be able to see it. And then reserved are the words that you can't use in your name field right here. And it'll tell you, it'll tell you that you don't want to do that. So that was just a quick overview of what we were doing. Now we're going to publish the survey so that you can see what's going on. And we actually did that part first. So we published our survey. So now it's in the cloud. And then here's what we look like over here. And if anybody has any questions, just let me know. We can do interactive. It's not a problem. And for Saturday, here it is. And we're just going to double check, make sure that I can share. I've shared it with everybody and folks can take the survey. So we just went into the feature service. We're just going to go to settings. I like to say keep track and make sure that it's enabled. The sync is enabled. If you have folks that are in the field that will be away from cell service, and that means that it just drops it into the phone differently. And then everything else is good. And then I like to say export data because eventually we're going to make dashboards and things like that. And it's easier if I just remember to do this right now. Say save. And for now, I'm not going to prevent it from being accidentally deleted because it's not that important to me at the moment. But if you have live data, make sure you add that because it's easier if somebody goes in and tries to delete it by accident, it won't let them. So that's a good piece of information for you today. And then I like to go over to Survey123 and just double check. See if there's any settings over there that I need. And there's all these pieces down here at the bottom. You're going to have this one here is editing. That is your browser version. So it says it's not fully supported here. Here's your collaboration. And that's where you're going to get the link or your QR code. Just make sure, I think we talked about this before, change your options first and then figure out what the link is that you want to use. And then who can submit surveys? I'm going to say everyone. I'll say save. And you can just send it out to your folks who can view the results. Maybe we want just my Survey123 class, and then save. And then updated surveys, all that stuff is put together for you automatically. So we don't have to worry about any of that anymore. And I'm going to go back here one more time and see where if I shared my form. Okay, so the form is shared with everyone here, and that's great. Right now, I don't need anything to do with my map, so it says it's public for everybody. That's great. For the most part, we don't really need to worry about that. Yes, Bruce?
Why do you have to select your options first before clicking your link?
Select, oh, right here. See how the link changes? Right here. So the options here are the Survey123 browser, the Survey123 browser and the field app, or just open it in the field app. And so the reason for that is if you want to lock it down to your area or your folks, opening up in the Survey123 field app means they have to have it on their device and you have to have a login. If it's a browser and you're doing public, that's perfect if that's something that you're doing. That was a good question. I kind of glossed over that one. Thank you. And so it looks like we're all set up. So now I want to show you what it looks like inside ArcGIS Pro, because a lot of you're looking at things from a different lens than I am. So I want to show you how this all works together. It's like a big triangle. So if I go to maps, and I'm just going to drop it right into that project folder. It's going to do all the magic for me. And now we can actually go get that hosted service. It's just in the clouds, but right now we can't see it. So come over here to catalog and portal. And for us, that was M4 Saturday. Yeah, this one here. So you can right mouse click it. Actually, not yet. You can double click it and then you can figure out what you want to pull in. Now this is your feature layer and this is the results. So they're doing the results for us. This is a view. So this would be a view is great for your customers that they need to have a dashboard or a web app and you don't want them to see everything. You just want them to see certain fields. That's what that's for. But when Esri makes it for us, they give us everything so that you can back things out of it. But for us, we want to use the master. So we're just going to right mouse click and add it to current map, or you can drag it over. And now it looks just like all the other layers that we're familiar with. So you can hit your control key and double click if you want your attribute table to open up. And I don't have anything in there. We haven't put anything in there. And then we also have this second table. And there's nothing in there either. What I can do is we can go in, we can put something in there. So I'm opening up the desktop version of Survey123. So go up to your little icon in the top that probably has your initials, but mine has my face, if you've gone in and done that. And say download surveys. And the very last one you did is going to be at the top. Or it goes by which one you edited the last time. So we can download that one. Here it is down here. We set it up to collect an inbox. So here's our collect. And I'm just going to put our information. Location, I'm on my computer. It thinks I'm somewhere in Redlands. So we'll just say Redlands is fine. It's easy. We could put our address in. Now, if you got the toolbox, which you have access to, you can put all that code in there and it will pull this up for you automatically. And then we could take a picture, except for I'm already on camera, so I don't want to make my computer angry. Let's see, I'm not in a grade. And these don't have to be populated, so I'm just going to scroll through them. And say go. Oh, it didn't like that at all. See, that's what the mask does. It tells you if somebody didn't put all your numbers in, it'll stay red. So now it's black. Send now. All right. Now, I've already put that in the cloud. Next year, or if I wanted to add an extra person, I can come in here to inbox. Nothing's in here. I just need to refresh, and that's going to pull it down. Now, I don't know if I added it. I did actually. We added some code here to the back end. That's where that instant name is. Show you real quick. Instant name. That's in settings, and that's here. So what we did is we said concatenate the family name and then use the phone number and then recheck if it's red. So that date right there, what we'll do is we'll go check, we'll change the date for us. And if that date is today's date, it turns red. So now you can see where that is. Let's go back in here. And now I can come into the blue area. All that top data stays the same. Everything else is in the repeat. So here's the repeat down here, and you can say, do a new one. And we can say, it's my other son, and kind of, if his name was different, he could push that information. And then come all the way down here, and then you see the 7 days to complete. Maybe we want to put this as today's date. Oops. Today's the 21st. We'll do yesterday's date. I think it's going to turn orange. And then say go. And now you notice it's gone. That's because it has to cycle through. It has to go up to the cloud, then it has to come back down. So hit refresh. And when you're using the inbox, see how it's turned red? That's the code. It tells you need to go do an inspection. What ends up happening is, I was so excited about that, I lost my train of thought. In the morning, this is how I tell my guys and ladies to do their surveys. Push everything to the cloud in the night, and then pull everything back down in the daytime or in the morning before you start. And the reason for that is then everybody submits it to the cloud and everybody gets all the good data in the morning. And say refresh. And then now, that's what it looks like. So now that we have data, now we can come in here in ArcGIS Pro and hit the refresh button down here. And it's going to pull things in. There's the Michelle, there's the Seb. And then here we can, tell it refresh also. And that's the main survey. Does anybody have any questions so far? So now what we do is go back into Connect. I think I'm open. There we go. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to add a few things. So maybe we want to add something to the main survey. Let's just go down to the bottom. So right here, if we wanted to add a field under the date and time, just highlight the whole field, right mouse click, and insert. And what that did is it pushed down this whole green area. Did you see how that happened? So if we want to enter something, like I said, always start over here at label. Now, I updated this at some point, and I haven't made this like I want it. So I'm going to share with you how I do it real quick. I told you I'd do that the last class. So see how I have my cell under hint on line 2. If I come over here to view, and let me make this bigger so you can see everything. See the split? Well, the split right now is down here. You see how that's just a little grayer and a thicker line. Hit the split, and you know now it grew. And then if you hit it again and hit it again, that means your real estate is now at type, name, and label, and everything else will roll. And then you can tell it to freeze. And for us, because we have the top line and we have the data on the side, you want to use this top one, freeze panes, side, and top. And now what happens is we can scroll, and now you can see the headers. Or you can scroll sideways, and it rolls. And that's great when it rolls that way, because when I have it this close, I don't want to lose another piece of real estate over here for hint. Then come over here to appearance, and I highlight appearance. And I highlight default and calculation. I also do U, which is field lengths. And the reason I do this and I teach you how to do this is because when we're looking at your surveys and they all look this way, our eyes know how to expect things to happen. You can use whatever colors you want. I like to use green for my first repeat. Just because if I only have one, everybody knows what that looks like. If I have other repeats, I'll use other colors. So label, let's say we want to do, we're just going to call it inspection because we'll know that inspection, let's say status or something. And then over here, we can say status. And over here, let's just do a text box to make it simple. We're going to do the same thing in down here somewhere. So we're going to insert. And then we're just going to take this and Control C for copy. And I'm going to do that right mouse click and this one here for values. But we're going to change this one. When I do a copy like this, you have to make sure that you have a different name. You'll notice it turns red. We're going to call it copy. So save. When you're adding fields, you're not going to break anything. What it's going to do, it's smart enough to know that it needs to push that up to the cloud. So now we have down here inspection status and down here inspection status. You'll notice it doesn't say copy here, and that's because we're looking at the labels. So copy is just inside where that's the computer information. I'm going to show you how to copy that one because sometimes, so I did a Control C. I'm going to come down here into calculate. I'm just going to paste that right in there. And then I like to just come up here and say $, curly bracket, and save. The reason I do this is sometimes there's a project number that's in the main survey and we want to drop that into the repeat so that maybe it's just easier to run the report with all that data inside of it. And sometimes you want to do the reverse. You want to take your child data and push that into the main data because maybe you're doing a dashboard and the dashboard only reads the main survey. You will find most of this in the Academy, all those files that I sent you with the recordings. So if you're just learning, I would suggest you try to do a couple of those a week. So as we get to 8 weeks, you've pulled in all that knowledge from the Academy, and you're building your survey. So that's a really good way to do that. So now what happens is if I go in here to inspection and I put some information in, I hit enter. If I come down here, it populates down here. I would probably hide this information And if you wanted to hide it, you could come over here to status and go to appearance. See the little drop down arrow? And now you can say hidden. There's two ways to do this. You can hide it here, which does the same thing as adding this type that's called calculate. So if you see one of those, usually you wouldn't put both of them. And then you would say save, and it will, the calculate auto hides it for you. So it's one less step. So down here, there you go. Now it's all gone and nobody can see it, but it's doing all that data on the back end. I think I published this, but I don't remember. So I'm going to publish this. Okay, so this is the screen you're going to get when you publish it with those new fields. And the only thing you really need to know is, do you need 255 characters for each of these? For us, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's place. But what you want to do is, if you have a yes/no question, set those to 3. So if they were a yes/no question, I'd cancel out of here. I'd go to my status copy and go all the way out here, and I'd put 3. And that's like I did up here. See the yes/no question? There's a 3 right there. And that's just because if you don't put anything in this field, the computer's going to give you or use data, 255 characters, whether it's blank or not. And that's expensive data in the cloud, because as you start having more and more surveys, this is live data, and live data is more expensive. So if you can at least get those yes/no questions to 3, that's great as you're starting. And we're going to publish this. We're going to leave that. That's okay. Then we're going to go back into ArcGIS Pro. And once that's finished, I want to show you how to do this, because this is tricky. You can refresh, and you would think that the field would be at the very end. It's not. ArcGIS Pro doesn't know how to pull down those new fields from Survey123. So when you need those fields, you can come in here, you can delete this and re-download a new one. That might change when the new platform comes out, but they're still working on 7 years ago platform. So they're working on a new platform. I don't know when it'll come out, but Control C to double click and Control C to get that to open. And then your fields are not going to go where you think they will. They're going to go at the very end. So here's your, let's see, how many days, Oh, inspection status. And after the first time you publish, it's going to go after creator and edit date and things like that, because those will be at the end until you start adding fields. Does anybody have any questions so far? Oh, we can break it. Let me break it for you real quick, or show you what not to do to break it. Okay, so we've talked about this before. Repeats, if you add another repeat, you will break your schema. So let's say we wanted to add photos inside the repeat. So that I call that a nested repeat. So we have an image here right now. And let's say we wanted another one. So we're going to say insert. Actually, we're going to insert a few. You can grab a bunch of these and then say insert, and it'll push them down that many. So here we can say beginning. You just got to go find it. Beginning repeat. Somewhere down here, you have to have an ending repeat. So you might as well add it now. And for our eyes, we're just going to make this a different color. Since we're in the green, I kind of like to do another green. So for this, let's say we're going to do an image. Wherever it is, image, and a text box. And the reason for this is because sometimes you're going to have, you know, your crew's going to go out and they're going to take inspections, and they need pictures. And you want the text to be with that picture. The way that, if you don't put it inside a repeat, your picture and your text won't line up. So if you put it in a repeat, they always line up. And so when you're running reports, you have the picture and the comment together, and it's a very beautiful thing. So here we have to put, I'm just going to put for good measure. Now for a repeat, I believe you have to have a name and a label. So we'll just call it nested. It doesn't like nested, of course not. Nested 1 and nested. And I can save it. And it's not going to tell you anything's different because it hasn't pushed up to the cloud yet. It just thinks you're doing normal stuff. So here it is. Here's your nested. Here's your image. Here's your text. You can fix that. You can make that multi-line. And you can add some text that says, add your photo, portrait or landscape, so that they make sure that your feature reports are done. Now, when I publish this, it's going to give me that really ugly red warning. If you see this warning, back out and don't go forward, especially if you have live data, because this will override all your data. You will lose everything. It tells you right there. And then if you want to do that, you can say yes. What this does is it changes the ID of your Survey123. Do options, you can make your changes, you can do your analysis, find out if something's broken. It's funny, it doesn't have any criticals, but we know it's critical. So we're just going to tell it to go. See what happens. I had a professor and he said, I love going in and trying to break things and figuring things out. And with software, like I just did, I don't know if this is going to change the ID or not. The reason you want to know this is because when you have webhooks or you have, your dashboards and things, it's all looking at that ID number. And see, it says deleting that service right there. Anyways, this is really hard on the software. So I try not to do this. I would rather take a copy and republish it brand new, because I don't know if there's going to be any floating data in there that is linked to something. And it makes me happier knowing I have control over the data and not the software. So with that, that's probably going to take a little while because now it's deleting things and adding things. We have about 15 minutes. Does anybody want to work through any of their surveys at the moment?
Just a question. If you were to make a copy of your survey and if you had a dashboard, theoretically you can just switch the source of those to your new survey, right?
I don't know. I haven't done it that way.
Okay.
I haven't done it that way lately. Let me put that down and we will build a dashboard before we get out of here. Dashboard in our 8 weeks, and build the dashboard and then check we can do that. I'll see if we can do that next week. All right, I'm going to ask Idris the questions from before. Idris, on your for the next 8 weeks, what would you like to learn? And if you want to introduce yourself, you can. We've done this in a previous recording, so but we haven't met you yet. Do you want to tell us a little about yourself and what you want to learn?
Okay. I don't know if I'm very audible. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Because
Yes.
I don't have my okay then. My name is Idris and I'm from Nigeria. And I was working with ECOWAS, where we are actually building a highway from Lagos in West Africa all the way to Abidjan. So I would like for what I would learn to be related to infrastructure or road alignment, something surveys that has to do with like the one you have expertise in, the right of way, yeah, that sort of that sort of surveys. That's what I'm more interested in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For you, for the infrastructure, what are some of the questions you would want to ask your end users so that you can collect data that's important to you?
Yeah. Okay, so basically, when you're dealing with the construction of highways, there are people that are normally affected when you're constructing highways. So the questions would be, the economic value of that highway, and whether if they would be happy, to move, like the socio-economic influence of that route, how it's going to affect their lives. So, a lot of people, there are some surveys that we do, like economic surveys and environmental. So this sort of questions, I think I would like to ask, for the people that, live within the right of way. So I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. No, I have some good ideas for you. So environmental surveys are great. And the great part about that is there are a lot of layers that already have some of that in there. I don't know about in Nigeria, but here in America, we have special services that go out and they're all, well, there's a wetland over here, and there's migrating birds here, and then there's specific birds here that you don't want to worry about or you don't want to touch. So we have maps like that. It'd be interesting to see what you have available out there for your environmental surveys. And that can be.
Yeah, we do have a lot of environmental laws where some certain trees cannot be, removed. So this sort of things actually are in line with the environmental regulations in Nigeria, and not just Nigeria. We are following the ECOWAS and African Development Bank regulations. So it's like a centralized law. So all the countries within the West Africa are actually in line with that, with the environmental laws. So yeah.
Nice. So what we could do is put a base map in Survey123 that shows these are the areas that maybe you need to survey those areas that say, I don't know, maybe you need to take some trees out, and there's some areas that that are marked that you need to get special permits or something. And then you can go do some surveys on those and say, this one has a width of, 13 inches or whatever, and it's this tall, and there's no nesting birds inside, things like that. And then you can send that in for permits, and then you can see if they would let you take that tree down. The other one is a customer survey, where you're maybe going door to door and asking people, kind of like a census would do, where you're asking, information for each household of, how do you feel about this project that's going in, kind of like PR work. How many people live here? You could probably figure out, what the averages are, but you could dial in exactly, exactly where that roadway wants to go, and you could ask people specific questions. How do you feel? What after this project, and if you're able to get some stipend to move, how would that benefit you? Because you want them to get the idea of the benefit of this, because right now they're getting, they're probably stressed because they're all, I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't know how all this is going to work. But if you flip that script and say, how is this going to benefit you? Then somebody may say, well, it's going to bring tourists through our town. It kind of like in the old days where they brought a train through, people wanted the train to be there because they would have more people that came to their town. But you could also ask, what are you afraid of, and things like that. But I like that too. Good job. Is there anything else that we can talk through today? All right, folks, we are at our time. I hope you have a spatial day, and I'll see you next week.